The Bible tells us that God arrived on earth in the form of
the baby Jesus
in the year 0. However, I think it's lying, and he actually arrived on earth in 1997 in the form of a derpy little duchy, surrounded not by wise men and shepherds, but by assaulters, corpses and cunt bags, although there was still a noncy looking donkey. He has an average finishing position of 1.18 this season. The lowest he's finished is second, and he's only lost 2 races, both to the Latin American Latifi, with whom he shares his rocket ship. He's now won 8 races in a row, while the Mariachi Mazepin has managed to cock up more times than the British government, but instead of failing to stop the boats, he's failing to stop his cars.
He's dipped a wheel.
Wow.
He's dipped a wheel on the left-hand side. And
Chud, wasn't it, in the Williams? He's carried too much speed in there, though.
Oh, well done.
Then we arrive at Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix, and with Verstappen taking a new gearbox, meaning he would have a 5-place grid penalty, the pressure was on for Perez to finally perform and maybe get a win. Max almost goes out in Q2, has a bit of a yell at Senor Longname, but he makes it through. Now the final runs of Q3 start coming in. The Ferraris go 1-2, it's starting to look interesting. Max comes around the corner, completes his lap. What the fuck? 8 tenths! 8? Are you taking the piss? 8 tenths! 8 that's fucking... That is levels! Levels! 8 tenths! But it's not to worry, because Perez, he's coming round. He's had the track that's a bit better than Max's, because he's gone round a tiny bit later. So where's he going to put it? It's obviously at least going to be second. Never mind. He's actually not human, for God's sakes. But it doesn't matter, because he has his 5-place grid penalty, which means Perez can still keep him behind, and we have sprint as well. So, with changeable conditions, anything can happen. And it does, as Max doesn't come into box at the start of the race, Piastri comes into pit, and McLaren pull off a beautiful stop, and then manage to get ahead of Verstappen, which lasted long.
Left-hand mirror is Oscar Piastri. Look at the momentum. Look at the speed that Max Verstappen's got. And he roars through to retake the lead.
But not to worry, there is stuff happening in other parts of the field.
Hamilton to the inside at Stavolo corner. It's got a hint. They'll go wheel to wheel and they collide. They collide. Perez and Hamilton.
Oh, God. Please, no. No. Lads, let's not do this. We don't need to do this. We can all just be friends. It was, as Charles would say,
Nothing, just an incident.
they were both racing hard, so let's not do this. We don't have to. It's just an unfortunate coming together. For fuck's sakes. Let's pause this here real quick. The edit's going to be the big funny. But before the big funny, we need to have a talk about this shit. Well, not this shit. This is the good shit. Still shit, but it's better. This is shit. Who the fuck? What? He's a fucking moron. And he's got people that just suck his cock. Why? X. He's a fucking toddler. X sounds cool. Yeah. X. Bruv. He's a dickhead. And he deserves shot. Anyway, back to the funny.
Avengers!
assemble. Inevitable. And I am Iron Man.
Of course, people cried. When don't they? It's Twitter, for God's sake. I hate it. We could have all just moved on and gone, yeah, it was a bit of an incident. I think the penalty, I mean, you can argue for it. I can see why it was given. I did feel it was a bit harsh. The 2 penalty license points was fucking ridiculous. Like, that he's just racing. I think that's fucking stupid. Anyway, once all the tears had dried, they were just about able to see one of the most interesting podiums we're going to get this season. Of course, Verstappen was on the top step, but that's a given. Piastri getting his best finished and first podium, and Gasly getting his best finish so far this season. although I'd also confidently predict that it's going to be his best finish for the entire season, but I've been wrong before. So it was looking to be a very interesting race with lots of teams in contention for the podium, not just Max Verstappen, although we all knew he would be taking the top step, but there was hope, you know? Perez was ahead of him, just like Miami, except this time it was at a track Max liked more. No, there was no hope.
Don't.
Oh my.
Don't give me hope.
So the 5 red lights are out and everything gets underway, and into the first corner, Sainz locks up and slams into Piastri, leaves a fat hole in his side pod, and Piastri has to retire from the race. And then he tweeted this. I'm not going to blame it on the guy who goes for a move. I'm going to blame it on the colossal cock who locked up. I think he severely missed the mark on this one. Moving on. Perez gets Leclerc and starts to pull a gap. Verstappen has a bit of trouble getting through the field. Well, when I say a bit of trouble, it took him 9 laps instead of 2. And it's honestly taking the piss how good he is. Because by lap 17, he took the lead off Checo and fucked off and won the race by 20 seconds. He wanted to do an extra stop just for fastest lap, but they wouldn't let him, the miserable bastards. He's too good. That car is too good. Adrian Newey, for the sake of the sport, needs to be fired. Christian Horner, for the sake of my eardrums, needs to be shot.
Change your fucking car.
So, Max Verstappen gets on the top step of the podium, simultaneously pissing off Senor Longname for disobeying everything he said. Perez and Leclerc take the final 2 spots in probably the most boring podium this season, unless you want Leclerc to have your children.
I was so distracted by you calling me babe.
Now to the important result of the weekend, 10th place. Yuki Tsunoda brings his 3rd points finish home for the season, and his 3rd point. Shout out Matty Baller for predicting that. That's his 2nd one. The stick bastard. So what does all of this mean for the championship? Well, as I've probably said every week prior, Verstappen pulls further ahead and Red Bull do the same. Perez is now a little bit more comfortable in that P2. Ferrari had a bit of return to form. Well, kind of. And there are 2 drivers yet to score points. Now, before we get onto the news, I want to talk about the diabolical performance from the FIA. What the fuck is the point of the full wet tyre if you're just going to delay the start of the race to Inter's conditions? They are professional drivers. They know the risks. This is their jobs. For fuck's sakes, let them race. Honestly, there were so many delays when most of the sessions could have started on time. It was fucking ridiculous. Honestly, bring back Massey. Because while we might have some dodgy decisions from time to time, it would be much more fun than what we have now. And I think everyone could agree on that. Now, I haven't uploaded for a few weeks, so let's take a little look back at what's happened since I've been gone.
Max Verstappen for the 2nd year running here at the Red Bull Ring. Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap and wins the Austrian Grand Prix. Lando Norris leads the British Grand Prix from Max Verstappen's weekend for a 6th consecutive time. He wins the Formula 1 Grand Prix. 7 victories in a row for Max Verstappen, who wins the Hungarian Grand Prix.
But on the bright side, McLaren are back. Now all they need to do is get rid of the ridiculous papaya and go back to red and white, and maybe get a Siggy sponsor for the hell of it. Now on to the news. Ricciardo is back. Ricciardo is back. Ricciardo is back. Ricciardo's back. Daniel Ricciardo is back on the... Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo. Good day, mate. Australia hitting fucking Ricciardo's bet, cunt.
Actually, I've got some news from Korea.
You can't tell, can you, that Top Gear's just been sold in Korea?
No.
Well, no, I don't think there's any evidence. I think we're smoothing this one out nicely.
It's not showing.
Hello, you industrious little fellows.
Yes, Ricciardo is back, and you wouldn't know as the F1 social media team has only put out about 53 different announcements about it. Now, while I am happy to see the Australian smile merchant back on the grid, it does feel a little bit harsh on the Dutch De Resta, being replaced without even making it to the summer break in the worst car on the grid. But that's Red Bull, innit? Brutal and do what they want, which I kind of respect. Moving on. And there are a number of teams rumoured to have violated the cost cap this season. Aston, Mercedes and Red Bull have all been the big rumours of the cost cap breach. However, Horner said that Red Bull were millions under because they had minimal crash damages and low level development. But we have heard that before. So, in other news, there have been leaked details for the 2026 cars, including a change back to 6 gears, a shorter wheelbase and some technical things about electricity.
I'm not convinced by that, though, because I think electricity is a mystery. It is. No, I don't actually believe in it.
Yuki Tsunoda was interviewed by a child and was smaller than him. Not really relevant, just quite entertaining. Alpine have had a reshuffle of personnel with lots of people coming and going, but I want to focus on Otmar, who said changes take time. It's like I always say, you can't get 9 women pregnant and expect to have a baby in a month.
Sometimes my genius is... it's almost frightening.
I mean, he's not wrong. And now on to some good news, which is very rare for F1, I will admit. F1 Academy will now be broadcasted after the summer break, although it is unclear whether it will be broadcasted on Sky or F1 TV. It will be broadcasted nonetheless, which is good news. Finally, it will get some much deserved and needed screen time. In a bit.